Bad politicians are sent to Washington by good people who don't vote. William E. Simon, former Secretary of the Treasury. All right, welcome to another morning episode of the Liberty Dad podcast, a discussion on politics and culture. For tuning in live, I want to especially thank you for giving me your time so early. It is Thursday, and I have another guest on the show today. We are going to have Feena Bonoan. She is running for U.S. Senate for the state of Florida. It's exciting. I love interviewing candidates. So let's get right into it and let's bring Feena on. So give her a great welcome. Feena,
Good
how are you?
morning. Good morning, DL. Good morning, family, friends, and folks of Florida and around the nation.
Right. This is awesome. So let's click on a couple more things here. There we go. All right. So let's get right into it. You're running for Senate here in Florida. What is it that motivated you to run? I mean, don't they got it going on that they're handling it? They're doing, politicians got it under control.
No, absolutely not. So, DL, you've known me for a while, even
Mhm.
before I came to Florida, and so I was born in Florida. And excuse me, it's still a little early. Let me get some coffee. I'm getting a little frog in my throat.
Fair enough.
Mm. All right, so I was born in Florida, and I moved back to Florida a year ago.
Mhm.
Um, and before that, I lived for 10 years in Hawaii. And when I was in Hawaii, I got there with the military.
Mhm.
And when I got out of the military, went to college, got a degree, and I graduated class of 2020,
Mhm.
Corona class. I graduated via Zoom. I'm the first person to graduate college from my family, and I graduated on a Zoom call that I wasn't even allowed to invite anybody to because it was even the early days of COVID.
Wow.
Um, and from there, I was going to run. I ran for office. I ran for state senate in Hawaii. I ran against Tulsi Gabbard's dad for state senate in Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and I got 30, a little over 30% of the vote in that race, which was pretty good for my first run. And it was a two-way race, and that kind of got me started. I had a lot of fun, even though it was during COVID. I was the only one out on the streets waving signs. I was the only one knocking on doors,
Mhm.
and I thought it was fun. I was running for office in Paradise. Fast forward 2 years, and I ran for U.S. Senate out there.
Mhm.
You ran for U.S. Senate in Hawaii because we had someone that was going to run for U.S. Senate that did not represent our brand very well.
Okay.
All
Mhm.
factions of our party would agree. We don't want this person running for U.S. Senate under our brand. So I
Okay.
ran a primary against him. And I won. And I became the first libertarian candidate to campaign on all the islands of Hawaii. Now I got my butt whooped in that race. Got it whooped bad.
Okay. So
And
so tell me about what that means since I'm not from Hawaii and you
mhm.
said, "Hey, I'm the first one to campaign in all the islands." Like, what does that mean? And I don't mean like, "Oh, I went to all the islands." I mean, like, is that a huge deal over there? Because I don't know anything about Hawaii.
It's a huge deal to the people on those islands.
Okay.
It's a huge deal to the people on those islands. So one of the less inhabited islands was Molokai.
Mhm.
And the last time that they knew of a libertarian, and they knew libertarians, was John McAfee. John
Okay.
McAfee had a house over on Molokai, and this population's probably, I would say Molokai's population is less than 10,000. I know it's less than 10,000.
Okay.
And so they remembered libertarians because John McAfee was over there. And when he was over there, he donated computers to all the schools.
Oh.
And all the students got a computer that's amazing for Molokai that doesn't even have a hospital. It doesn't have a hospital. So anybody that's going that has any surgery or anything, they have to get on a single engine plane and fly across the ocean to Oahu. So yeah, it is important that we actually campaign on all these different islands because they have different issues, right?
Mhm.
So that was 2022, and even in that race, I found out that my husband had orders to Florida, and so I had to tell people that I was, I'm running for office here in Hawaii. The only way I'm gonna be able to stay in Hawaii is if I get elected to U.S. Senate,
Mhm.
and I'd have to go to Washington. So I knew I was coming to Florida. Came to Florida, and when I got here, you know, um, I would have loved to not run for office. Part of me would have loved not to run for office, to take a break, but we didn't have anybody that was running for U.S. Senate. Nobody
Mhm.
was stepping up for it. And you know what? There's an old saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Right.
And I understand that the libertarian, our goals are on more local level.
Mhm.
But we also have, fill the ballot up initiative, and we're never going to get somebody in Congress if we don't run people for Congress. We're never going to get
Right.
somebody in Washington if we don't run people to go to Washington. And it'd
Right.
be very disingenuous to the people of Florida if I were to run a local race like for city council or state senate or state house when
Mhm.
I haven't even been here for over 10 years. Well
Right.
over 10 years because I was in the military for 10 years. So we're talking since I was a kid.
Right.
Um, it's not the right thing to do. But Washington politics,
Mhm.
folks, a libertarian in the US Senate is going to do the same thing, going to mean the same thing,
Mhm.
whether that's a libertarian coming from Hawaii, coming from North Carolina where I was raised too,
Mhm.
or Florida. It's the same because Washington politics are Washington politics regardless of what state you're coming from.
Right. Okay. Awesome. So you mentioned a moment ago, you said, "I got my butt whooped." So let
Mhm.
me ask you then, and that happens. I mean, politics, you win some, you lose some. So what is the best thing that you did when you look back and you say, "What's the best?" Like, I'm definitely doing that again. And what's the thing that you would do differently?
For what in Hawaii for US Senate?
From your from your experience running prior, from your
Mhm.
prior campaign, what's the thing that you would do again? Like, what's the best thing that you think you did when you look
Mhm.
back? And what is the thing that you would say, nah, that was definitely not a good thing. I should not do that again.
Okay, so I think that each state, because we're talking about two different states, there's
Hmm.
different challenges.
Okay.
So one thing that worked in Hawaii that I don't think is working here in Florida is was just the sign game is different, right?
Okay.
So in Hawaii, they don't have billboards, so it's all about banners and signs as
Okay.
far as like getting the average viewer out to see your stuff, and it's big on sign waving. But out here in Florida, it's a much larger landmass, and not many people do banners. Mainly, they do signs. They like Nathan Slusher down in Titusville. He's
Hmm.
got some pretty cool signs. He spent
Okay.
he bought way more signs than I ever bought.
Okay.
He's got more signs out. It takes a lot more signs to cover the area.
Right.
So it's challenging. Also a lesson that I've learned in running for races, not everybody needs to know your name. Not everybody needs to know your name.
Right.
In fact, it's better if there's like one or two people that don't know your name.
Right.
Because then they're going to go ask somebody, what was her name? What was his name?
Okay.
And then that gets somebody else saying your name. So that's always good. And there's always campaign season. This is my third run. And one thing doesn't change about campaign seasons. And it doesn't matter what state you're in, where at, doesn't matter district. It is a cash flow event.
Hmm.
And it's like blood in the water. People smell it and they come. It's like sharks they are coming for it. And so um funny story, well, not really that funny, but I had this one person, call me up this campaign, and I could tell that they clearly did not do any research on me other than look at my FEC filing report,
Mhm.
and saw that I had raised enough money to be on the ballot, which was pretty expensive here in Florida.
Mhm.
And called me up and basically wanted to be my campaign manager for like $20,000 a month. I haven't even raised 20,000 yet.
Right.
And they they what they wanted to do was tell me what to say. Tell me what to say, how to say it, where to, they wanted to be basically the hand up a puppet's butt. And I told him, I was like, listen, sir, there's a line. There's a line for that position. And first, you gotta kick me out. You gotta
Right.
get me out of the puppet first. And beyond that, there's people that would no, they would do it for free. Do it for
Right.
free, not for $20,000. So there's a lot of people that are grabbing for money. I've noticed some of these events that I'm getting invited to.
Mhm.
Um, if it's got less than 50 people and they're charging me $300 for a table, it is not worth it.
Mhm.
It is not
Right.
worth it to go out there. That's a lot of money to spend at an event where I'm going to get heckled.
Right.
I'm gonna get people that walk by and hiss at me, that have never met me, never talked to me or anything, just gonna look at me and go, because I'm
Right.
not a Republican or a Democrat. So,
Right.
like I said before, some people don't deserve to know your name.
Okay. All right. So let me, since we are talking about, the topic of money came up, let's put up on the screen here and let me get to it here. Where are you? There you are. Let's get this up on the screen here and we'll take a look at some numbers here. There we go. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger so that we can see it better. That may be too big there. Okay, so what we've got here is this is the breakdown right now. Now, just so everybody's clear, we have not had the primaries yet. Now, you're in luck. There is nobody challenging you, so you will go past August 20th. Right now, it's looking like, at least based on numbers, I don't know. I don't have any line of sight on where these particular candidates sit. But we've got Debbie Mucarisel.
Marcel,
Okay, I'm sorry. Say that again.
Marcel, isn't it?
Marcel.
I thought it was.
I'm not really sure, but we'll just go with Debbie Powell. Gonna make
Yeah.
it easy on me be able to say it. And then so it looks like Debbie Powell and Rick Scott will be the ones that emerge from the primaries. So, what is your plan to compete? And this is not a new question. I mean, right? Like this is not some new phenomenon that Republicans, Democrats can generate millions and millions of dollars. Like that's the way that it works. And so we are the underdog, as members of the Libertarian Party when we have candidates running. So, what is your plan to compete against them, given the vast differences in the money that they're able to raise versus the money that, libertarians are able to raise?
Well, I'm not sure what people are doing with these millions of dollars, but I know if I had millions of dollars, you'd see billboards out on the streets with my name on them and the Libertarian brand. Um, I'm not sure where they're going, but I've already gone around the state. I've already gone around to most of the most populated cities in the state at least once. Some
Mhm.
of them I've hit more than once already, and that's with $15,000. Now that $15,000, a big chunk of that already went to the filing fee. Like we're looking at maybe what's that? Maybe almost half of the funds that I've raised went to the
Mhm.
state of Florida, just straight up to the state of Florida. Um, I think this is an appropriate time to say that some of those campaign donations went to the Libertarian National Party to advertise. I spent a little money on the advertisement at the National Party because a lot of the filing fee came from folks from the National Party.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure at least half of it came from within the state of Florida,
Right.
but the other half came from libertarians across the nation, libertarians and veterans. And I feel like I wasted some money on that.
Mhm.
And the reason why I wasted the money is because what I purchased did not actually, I didn't get anything. I purchased this package where I was supposed to have pins
Right.
put in. They weren't like this, of course not,
Okay.
but I'm just
Okay.
for the visual. I
Right.
had pins purchased to be put in the bags of every delegate's
Mhm.
bag, and I even had to overnight them because I didn't get the shipping information until 3 days before it was due. I
Mm.
didn't get the shipping information until 3 days before it was due, even though I signed up and paid for this advertisement for the convention a month ahead, at least a month ahead.
Right.
And guess what? There wasn't a single pin in anyone's bag. So not only did I not get the advertisement that I wanted, that I
Mhm.
paid for, and I paid extra to make sure that it got there in time. I'm missing my pins. I never got my pins back. So they're sitting on boxes of my pins. They're sitting on boxes of pins that say Feena Bonoan, Libertarian.
Right.
And what are they doing with them? Who are they? What's that helping for my campaign? That was campaign funds. That was
Right.
campaign funds that you know, they were spent wrong.
Okay.
And I
Well,
think running for office, if I don't go after every dime in my small campaign coffers that I've got, and
right.
I let even something as small as a was it? I think it was like 100, maybe $200 to have the pins put in the bags,
Mhm.
plus another $200 to get the pins there overnighted. So we're talking $400. That's $400 that I could have purchased signs with. $400 that would have bought at least 4 tanks of gas to get
Right.
around the state. So, uh, folks, if you're at the national party, if you have any weight at the national party, if you have anything to do with the convention oversight or have any weight there at all, I would like a refund. I want a refund. I want reimbursement for the shipping, and I want my pins back because those pins were bought with donations. Maybe not from this campaign,
Mhm.
but from people that did donate to this campaign, definitely bought those
Right.
pins.
Well, on that note, I don't want to spend too much time beating up on the LNC, but in your favor, you've got at least one person in the comments here that said Phoenix campaign is much more trustworthy than the LNC. So you've got some supporters out there. But let's move along because we want to talk about your campaign and how in your intentions, some of the issues that are important to you. So let me ask you, what is your big focus here in Florida? Like when you're looking at the landscape, like when you're campaigning, when you're talking to people, what are the things that you're talking about?
More freedom, less government.
Okay. And,
Like all the issues wrap under more freedom and less government. If there's a
right.
number one issue, it is more freedom, less government. Everything that happens under that is prosperity. Everything that happens under that is libertarian values. It's things like legalization of all drugs, cannabis, ending the Jones Act,
Mhm.
decreasing taxes, stop printing money,
Mhm.
stop printing money. That's these are all good things. These are all good
Right.
things. Letting people use Bitcoin and decentralized fiat or decentralized currency, different types of ways of life, even. Everything from people with kids like you, like many people have kids. I don't have kids, but I respect people's choices to want to homeschool their children, want to put
Right.
them into different education systems. There's a lot of issues that fall under more freedom and less government.
Right. All right. Um, I've got something here and I want to get your take on it. And this comes from Senator Marco Rubio. And let's see if I can't get this up on the screen here. Let's see here. We are gonna do our best. I'm not gonna play the audio. Well, I could play the audio. I think it'll come through. We'll try it. We'll try to get the audio through. So this is Marco Rubio. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit, see if we can't get that a little bit better so that people can maybe read it on the screen. So he says, if you're in the United States on a visa and vandalizing property with phrases like Hamas is coming, it's time for you to go. Let's see if we can hear what he said here. Let's uh
Mhm.
let's back this up and play it.
What I am saying
Mhm.
You're a visitor. You're not even an American. You're a foreign national. You're here because we gave you a visa to be here temporarily. And now you're out there defending and supporting Hamas, a terrorist organization. You need to go. That's what this resolution asks the administration to do. And I hope we can get a vote on the Senate. So at least everyone will know where everybody here stands.
All
But
right.
I am
So
saying,
there we go. All right. So do you agree with him?
I believe in the freedom of speech.
Mhm.
And I believe that freedom of speech isn't limited to just who we say who we say can speak, right?
Right.
Um, so the headline was about vandalizing property, and
Right.
I'm against vandalizing property.
Okay.
And I think if you're a guest at my house and you vandalize my property, I'm gonna kick you out my house,
Right.
right? So there's that. But when he's talking about people just talking, speaking
Mhm.
up, I don't think that you should just willy nilly just throw people out for that. Um, I'm not sure if that answers your question well.
So let's put it a different way. If you're a senator and there is a resolution for you to vote on, you're saying you would entertain voting yes if it was limited to property, the destruction of property, right? Like you might be willing to entertain a resolution that says if you're an immigrant here on a visa and you destroy property, we're going to kick you out. Would you vote yes or no?
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, yeah, I'd probably
Okay.
vote yes for that because
Okay.
you're destroying people's property, and the whole purpose of government is to protect people and their property.
Right.
Like that's really what the foundation is like more of the criminal justice side of things. And as the U.S. Senate, your kind of your role is
Mhm.
more of letting laws, speaking into life laws and policies that are going to be implemented, and you know that's more of the people that are going to implement them are more of the police officers, the immigration control. Like, I want to see a better when we're talking about immigration. I want to talk about why is it so much why is it that people find it to be an easier solution to go and become human trafficked, to pay people to human traffic them, to pay people to put themselves and their family in the back of an 18-wheeler across country with no
Mhm.
AC, no food, no water, and
Right.
you're going to pay them to do that. Why is that a better option than coming in the right way?
Okay. All right. And
Yeah.
okay, so then following that, so if it's private property, you would vote yes. What about if it included public property? So I think like the Liberty Bell, which is not, which to my understanding is public property, although it might be privately owned. The Liberty Bell was defaced quite a bit, actually. There's videos of it. Would you vote yes on something that would penalize immigrants here on a visa for destroying public property? Because I know a lot of libertarians kind of are iffy on the whole idea of public property in the first place.
Um yeah, so I probably would have them jailed.
Okay.
I would want them jailed because, depending on what they're doing, right?
Hmm.
So let's defacing property versus destroying property. You
Hmm.
destroy property. If you destroy something that isn't yours and it's something that's very meaningful, something that's important to like American heritage, like the Liberty Bell, for instance.
Hmm.
If you like do something really bad to that, I'm not gonna send you off. No, you need to be punished.
Hmm.
Sorry. Like that, but then again, this is the US Senate.
Okay.
I'm not the one that's gonna be doing the punishment. I'm the one writing, the policy and voting on laws. So I think that to have a blanket of we're gonna just throw you out of the country, for one thing, you gotta catch them first.
Right.
There's just, there creates a lot of government extra with that.
Right.
Extra agencies, extra enforcement.
Hmm.
I think if we just held all people accountable for their actions, that would be a good solution.
Mhm.
You know, we have laws already where American citizens face consequences for destroying property. I think that, you know, if you do the crime, you do the time.
Right. Okay. Got it. And I don't actually disagree there. I think that when it comes to property, we should defend it. And if people are going to deface it and it's not their own, then there should be some repercussions, whatever those particular repercussions actually are. And I do agree with you that if somebody even nasty, terrible speech like, Hamas is great or something like, crazy like that, that's free speech. And it's easy to defend speech that we like. So nobody has to be defended for saying Hamas are terrible, evil people, right? Like nobody needs defending for that. Like we pretty much all agree, with the exception of a few, a handful of people. And those people might say, well, Hamas is, they're freedom fighters, they're great, they're whatever they're saying. I don't really know what they're saying exactly, but whatever they're saying, you know, that's the speech that needs defended. So, I would agree with that.
I'm all for freedom fighters. I'm just not all for murderers.
Right.
I'm not all for pillagers. And when, you know, these groups cross that line,
Mhm.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you're fighting on God's side, you're still a murderer.
Right. So let's take a look at, and I'm not going to pull it up on the screen. I'll just mention it and then get your take, kind of like your elevator pitch, if you will, for all of the issues that are on your website. Now I know that people can technically go read, but we're having an interview. Let's hear, maybe something different will come up, that's not on your website. So I'm just going to kind of go down the line and give your elevator pitch, whatever it is that you think people that are watching need to hear. Non-interventionist foreign policy.
Hmm.
What do people need to? What do people that might vote for you need to know about it? Not libertarians. Libertarians know what they believe already.
Non-interventionist foreign policy. Imagine how much money that we could save
Mhm.
and how much infrastructure in America we could fix if we weren't busy nation building and bombing other countries.
Right.
Hmm.
Got it. Absolutely. And to that point, everybody loves talking about infrastructure. Like we're doing that here in Jacksonville. They just passed, legislation or I'm not legislation, but they just voted on spending regarding infrastructure, and they actually did it a couple years ago as well.
I don't
Gun
count the
rights.
stadium as infrastructure.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I was just kind of being very broad in it, but yes.
Mhm.
But they did prior to that. There was actually they raised the gas tax by 6 cents in order to fund infrastructure projects. So they did have that as well. And I realized that stadium is actually it should be considered entirely private property, and it should not be considered infrastructure specifically. So, but I was kind of being a little bit broad there. All right, gun rights. What's the pitch to people?
Shall not be infringed.
Mhm.
Next question.
All right, so that sums it up. Let's see, immigration reform.
I've already stated it. I want to fix the immigration policy that we have currently. I
Mhm.
want to make sure that people that are here in America already have a pathway to get to become US citizens. And
Mhm.
that's something we're lacking right now. That is the biggest, like, when I was doing research on the immigration, just our immigration problem, right?
Mhm.
A lot of folks that get here, they can't become, well, if you're already here in America, you
Mhm.
can't start your visa process. You can't become a citizen if you're already here. And to me, that just that doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
That doesn't make sense. I would love to fix that problem. That's just like we could fix just that one thing to a pathway. It's all about finding a better pathway.
Mhm.
I know our presidential candidate Chase Oliver. He talks about Ellis Island approach,
Mhm.
and I like that idea as well of having doors to come in, right?
Right.
Certain ways to, like, pathways, and we also have to have a pathway of once you're already here to become a US citizen.
Right.
Mhm.
So On that note, then, if Chase Oliver, the Libertarian presidential nominee, if he were to win and he supports an Ellis Island style immigration, so just as a quick recap to anybody that's not familiar that might be listening in, libertarians tend to fall in one of three areas. They tend to fall in open borders, closed borders, and you can think of open borders as just kind of some variant of more than what we have now, or being very permissive. And then closed borders, maybe not entirely closed, but it be at at least relatively limited. And then you've got the Ellis Island style. I got that all mixed up. The Ellis Island style, which is somewhat open, but there's some limitations on that. So if he were elected, and then you were elected as well, and then there were some measure that said we're going to go toward an open, I keep saying open, an Ellis Island style form of immigration, you would absolutely support that then.
100%.
Got it. And I agree. I think, as somebody who's married to an immigrant, the immigration system is unnecessarily costly, and it's just difficult. It's difficult for people that may want to come here and contribute to our society as a meaningful member. It's very difficult for them to get here. And
Mhm.
we've all seen the maps where they like the steps that you've got to take, and you go and you do this and this. It's like a little board game. Um,
Mhm.
and there's those infographics out
It's
there.
literally a 12-step process.
Right. It's and I think it's obscene because, like, I suppose it's great if you wanna limit people through bureaucracy, but that's not what I want. I would rather limit violent people,
Mhm.
and that the current process doesn't necessarily guarantee that we're limiting violent people, but it does guarantee that we're limiting people that might otherwise come here and be productive members of society.
Yeah, and you know what? I think just so what did Ellis Island originally do? It checked your papers to make sure you had a name, make sure you weren't wanted for crimes, made sure you were not carrying diseases,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Or contraband. I know some people care about drugs coming up into America, and that's
Mhm.
okay. Um, the TSA even makes you take your shoes off before you come in America. You gotta take your
Right.
shoes off before you get in our house. Oh my
Right.
goodness. So there's already like these measures in place to kind of we know what we need to do.
Mhm.
I don't think that we need to prove that we're gonna have a job lined up as soon as we show up. We don't require that of our high school graduates. We don't
Mhm.
require that of, you know, people that leave their current job. We don't say before you leave your current job, you got to find a new job. Oh, thank
Right.
you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Um, People come here to America, and you're right. They've got a plan. It takes money, even if they're gonna do the human trafficking route. It takes money. It
Right.
takes a plan. It takes courage. It takes
Right.
ambition. And those folks that are coming over, they're not coming empty-handed. Even if they're only coming with the shirt on their backs, they're not
Right.
coming over here completely empty-handed looking for handouts. They're coming over here to be future business owners,
Mhm.
future teachers, future doctors, lawyers. They're going to open up towns and construction. That these are things that we need in our country. We have an
Right.
aging population.
We do. We do. Especially here in Florida, because that's where they all like to go. um, and here's the thing. And I know that people get kind of divided. And I think when it comes to immigration, I think one of the things that we need to focus on are what are the positive things that we want to hear about when it comes to immigration. So one of the things that I grew up hearing about is people would say, my grandpa came here in, such and such time with $20 in their pocket. That's all they had. They showed up, they were let in, and then they found a job at the local pizzeria. They slept in the storeroom, in the back room, and they saved up all their money. And then eventually they opened up their own pizzeria. And they're like, and that's, and I like hearing those kind of stories. Not that I necessarily want people sleeping in the back room per se, but I like the idea of people coming over here that want to be successful, and a successful business owner is good for us, right? For everybody here, whether it's a pizzeria or whether it's a big, huge company, right? Whatever that, what doesn't really much matter. And those are the kind of stories that I want to hear more of. And the way that we hear more of them is to think back, when did we hear of them in the first place? Well, we heard about these stories many years ago, from the time of Ellis Island, and even before that, really. So, for me, I look at it and I say, like, let's figure out how to keep out the bad people and make sure that we have our doors open as possible for the good people, right? And the way I say it is, I'm like, less, I'm going to mess it up already. I mean, but I was like, less MS-13 and more grandmas, right? And I say that because my mother-in-law, it was pretty costly to bring her over and come live with us. And
Mhm.
I thought it was kind of ridiculous, because I was like, it's a 70-some-year-old woman, and I had to go through a lot. We had to go through a lot of work and pay a lot of money just to bring her over here and not have, some agency kicking down our doors to make her go home.
Yeah.
And that was just ridiculous. And it was just insane. I'm like, she's 70. She wants to come over, uh, now it's time for her to
She
live out her
doesn't need
days.
a job. She doesn't need an
Right,
employer to sponsor her.
right, right. And so, but we had to, and then we had to put all the paperwork in, and we had to pay money, and it was an obscene effort, just so that one family member who was aging and no longer had their immediate family with them any longer in their own country could come over here with the last of their immediate family, right? Because her
Right.
husband had passed away, and then her son also passed away. And so then it was left to my wife. And so I was just like, this is this, and I had already believed that the process was obscene to begin with, right? So it's not like I was that enlightened me in some way. It just kind of brought it home, is really what it was. So yeah, I appreciate your position on immigration. Let's see what else we got here on your list of issues. Going back to gun rights, I wanted to point this out. I saw this come up in the comments. Let me see if I can't find it. Where did it go? Here it is. Keith Garrett. He says, "Don't forget the red flag law that Marco Rubio sponsored and Scott co-sponsored." So,
Yeah.
and then, as you said, shall not be infringed. So if you're watching and you don't like the red flag laws, Feena's your gal. So
Hmm. I don't get
um,
the red flag. Let me tell you this. Listen, this is my issue.
mhm,
Let me tell you my issue. If you don't trust somebody to defend themselves, if you don't trust somebody to be able to vote, why do you trust them out on your streets?
right, right. And I think it's a point that's not brought up often enough. Like, hey, this person was let out of jail, but they can't have a gun. Well, why are they let out of jail? Because, like, they could find anything. They could find a rock, a knife, a stick, baseball bat. I mean, there are any number of objects that can be used as a deadly weapon to harm somebody else. And
Correct.
so, yeah, you've restricted their right from having a firearm. But why are they out on the street if we don't trust them to that point to be able to again defend themselves, first
Hmm.
and foremost? Because at the end of the day, everybody has the right to self defense.
Yes. Even
So
prisoners.
they
Even
do.
prisoners.
They do. All right, let's move on. I just wanted to go back to that because I saw that comment and I wanted to make sure we addressed it. Let's see, criminal justice reform. What do you got for Florida?
Oh my gosh, we're already talking about it. We're already tapping on it. We're dancing
Right,
around it. We're already talking about, like, if you don't trust them to vote, if you don't trust them to hold a
right,
firearm, why let them out of jail? Yeah. Listen, I'm a hard on I'm hard on criminals, true
right.
criminals, people that deserve to be in jail. But I'm
Hmm.
also a very I'm a constitution loving libertarian. And when
Hmm.
I say constitution, I took an oath to defend the Constitution. I never untook that oath,
Right.
right? And there are certain amendments in the Constitution that are just being trampled on worse than the Second Amendment. Let me tell you that, worse. We have a prison population on the federal level that it has gone down 1%. It was 98% of all people in prison, but now it's 97% of all people that are in prison have had their rights violated.
Mhm.
by being coerced into taking a plea bargain. And
Mhm.
that affects innocent people that are jailed for
Mhm.
things that they didn't do. It also affects guilty people who did the things, and they get off on a lesser charge. They like I was out at the VFW in Jasper,
Mhm.
Florida, up in the Panhandle, and I got the spirit with me because there was a lot of folks going up there talking about their criminal justice platforms on the local level, and mine's more of a national level, but it's about the plea bargaining system. You know, that like that to me is it's a cop out. It's a infringement of your constitutional rights.
Mhm.
It's an infringement on the rights of victims,
Mhm.
and it's dirty business. It's a lot of money involved into it, and it's a slimy thing that needs to get out of our criminal justice system. I think if we did that, we would have a more robust criminal justice system, a robust being in the positive way, right?
Mhm.
Right now, we have all these for-profit jails and folks going away for long prison sentences for nonviolent crimes, and at the same time, we have people that do violence and they get out on
Mhm.
probation. They get to come on back out, and you see them at the grocery store. That's wrong. That
Mhm.
is wrong. You should not be able to circumvent justice, whether it be something in a way that you cannot circumvent justice to gain a favorable sentence,
Mhm.
or circumvent justice to avoid a trial. The trial is the people's rights too, because part of the criminal justice system's purpose is to deter future
Mhm.
criminals.
Right.
And if we do not show the people what happens when you do bad in America, they'll never know. They'll never know, and they will continue to push the limits,
Mhm.
continue to do violence, continue to damage property. Um, this is a systematic approach that we've got to take a better handle of, because right
Right.
now we're just doing it for profit, and that's not right. Justice is not a money making scheme.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Let's take out a couple of other items here. Education choice and reform. This one seems to be kind of a big one, I think, in Florida because, like right now, you've got, if you will, the so-called like Moms for Liberty crowd, if you will. They are really running for a lot of the local school board seats, and they're making a lot of noise. A lot of that came from some books and stuff like that weren't particularly well received, and for good reason, for at least some of them, in my opinion. So, what kind of things, like it says here, FINA supports school choice initiatives, including vouchers, charter schools to provide parents and students with more control over their educational paths. So, let's kind of talk to the average voter. And why would they want more control over the educational path? And I know it sounds like a simple answer,
I'm gonna
like,
tell you, oh yeah, yeah. No,
but
it's
let's
because
lay it
your
out.
your child is unique.
Mhm.
Every person and every child is unique. And your child or child in your life
Mhm.
has talent. They have things that they're really good at, and there's things that they're not so good at. And if we take them at a young age and we sharpen them to be good at the thing that they already love doing, the thing that they're already talented in doing,
Mhm.
we're going to create a future generation that exceeds us. If we keep everyone equal on the same level, and making sure that we're all catering to like the middle ground, we
Mhm.
lose people. Of course, we lose the folks that fall behind, but we also lose the potential for the folks that can excel.
Mhm.
And I was one of the ones that could have excelled a lot more than what I did. I was in public education, and I had a rough life coming up, and so I was kind of like working through challenges that most children didn't have to work through due to a rough childhood, a rough home life.
Hmm.
But if I had been able to hone in on some of the things that I was really good at, really inspired to work on
Hmm.
at a younger age, I don't even know how much further I could have gotten, because I didn't realize that I was smart until I went into the military, and I took the what is it called, the battery aptitude test,
Hmm.
which it measures how smart you can be, not how smart you are, but how smart can you be.
Right.
Kind of like it measures how much can we pour into your cup,
Right.
right? How much can you handle? And turns out I can handle a lot more than what I was being poured into my cup.
Right.
And that's one of those things that I never would have known, because I was in the public education system, and I was being like, I was in the same classes as everyone else. It was like a kind of a three position. So you had like the people that needed
Hmm.
special needs, people that had learning disabilities, right? And then you had the average class, and then you had the like the honors or college prep type
Hmm.
classes, right? And so I would teeter between the top two. I didn't have time in my home life to be able to do homework the way that
Hmm.
an honors class wanted you to do.
Right.
And I when your homework counts for 40% of your grade, that can really mess you up. That can
Right.
mess you up. But I would just blow the smoke out of the regular ones.
Hmm.
It's fine. I could sit there and literally do my homework while the teacher was teaching, right? And that's just one of those things where if we had more of a school choice where we could put our children in these different places that would benefit them more. And I think about like other countries, right? And other places that they still have an education system. Everyone should be able to, have this like a level playing field on some of the basics like reading, writing, and math. I get that.
Hmm.
Like you should be able to do the basics. You should definitely be able to read, because that's like the funnel to get you to go out to so much more. And
Hmm.
you should be able to do some basic math, because you're just not going to get by without it. You got to be able
Right.
to do some basic math. Um, but it's one of those things that in other countries they have programs where they start learning a trade really young.
Hmm.
Even your son's age,
Hmm.
start learning something that's very like maybe something that's indigenous to their culture, or like when I say doing a trade, I don't mean creating iPhones because you got tiny hands. No, I don't mean that. I mean something that's like an artisan craft,
Hmm.
right? Like uh, I was in Hawaii, like wood carving, right?
Okay.
Like to be a good wood carver, or to be a good hula dancer, or be
Hmm.
a good ukulele player.
Hmm.
These even construction work. To be good, you kind of need to get in there young. You need to get in there while you have a lot of energy and you can be malleable still. And that creates, once you are of age, it creates these years of experience, right? So a lot of people that are millennials and younger, we look at people that are hiring, they're hiring for somebody that has 10 years of experience in a field, and it's a entry level position, but they want 10 years of experience in something. And it's just, it creates that experience. It creates better products in the long run. When we're teaching and learning something, I mean, we know this about musicians. We know great musicians always start out at a young age,
Hmm.
the prodigies. And we've got to, if we want more of that good stuff, we've got to let the children focus on what inspires them, and not shove some what was that? No Child Left Behind.
Right.
There was some bad
Right.
stuff coming up. I mean, and at the same time, I learned in school. I don't know about you, DL, but I learned some government programming that I knew was a lie from the beginning, and we're still reaping the repercussions of it. Things like the food guide pyramid.
Right.
I didn't learn about the food guide pyramid from my mother. I didn't learn about the food guide pyramid from anyone else other than the school system that told me I needed to have 12 slices of bread a day.
Right.
And that's going to make anybody fat.
Right.
That's going to give anybody diabetes. So that's a lie. We learn lies in school. We definitely learned some lies. And when we broaden the field, it's just a better thing. I think I've told you before, I've been a libertarian my whole life. And so when I was in school and I had civics class, we had this project, this little group activity where our teacher wanted us to pick Republican or Democrat.
Mhm.
And I refused. I said, I'm a libertarian. And so a couple people came over my way too, because they're like, oh, I'm a libertarian too. Or I'm
Right.
independent. So yeah, then we started this little thing, this little group. Anyways, I ended up getting taken out into the hallway and got detention. And because I refused to be a Republican or Democrat.
Wow.
Because it came down to the point where we were messing up the plan.
Right.
We were messing up the plan. We were messing up the game.
Right.
And that when you limit the people's choices, whether it's about political parties or school choice, you mess up the plan.
Right.
You know, you're playing a game is what I'm trying to say. You're playing a game. And I'm all about messing up that plan because you gotta. Kids are different.
Got it.
Every person's individuals.
So summarizing then, effectively the answer to why would a parent want to choose, want to have more control over their child's educational path? It's because the current path holds their kids back.
Yeah.
And if we want their kids to be able to reach the heights of possible the success that's possible for them, then we need to change things and we need to challenge that plan. And the plan right now is, hey, you fall in line in these particular areas and you just do, as we have set up, and then don't ask too many questions. And so what we're doing here, we're asking too many questions, but on purpose.
Let me say one more thing. Let me say
Absolutely.
one more thing on that. We have to catch up to AI. We're at a position now where we have to catch up to AI. Our children will not know how to program computers the way that my generation did. And if something were to happen, we need to be able to pass that baton. That's been the conversation lately amongst politics and everything. We got to be able to pass that baton. But if our children don't know computer programming, if our children don't know, how to survive without these digital interfaces that we have, what we have now is we use a lot of like graphic. It's called a GUI, graphic user interface, right? We use GUIs almost extensively, even at McDonald's. Give me the number 2 with the picture,
Right.
And if we don't, we've got to do that. We've got to catch up to AI.
Right.
I mean, come on.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're about at our time here. So
Great.
are there any final words that you want to leave people with? Like tell them, where they can go to find you, how they can help you in your run, any motivating words that you have for them.
Absolutely.
Stage is
Absolutely.
yours.
I got a couple. First of all, I do a podcast every week just because I give the people what they wanted. I asked people in Florida what they want from my campaign. They said a podcast. Okay, it's called Campaign Update. I host it with another U.S. Senate candidate. His name is Mike Scott. We host 2 candidates on every single week. It's on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. And we also have a presidential update as well from the Chase Oliver campaign every week. Once again, that's Tuesdays live at 11 a.m. We rerun that on Monday nights at 7 p.m. The whole purpose of it is so that people can see candidates. So share. If you want libertarian candidates coming across your social media scroll, like and share Campaign Update. We play commercials. So if you're a candidate out there and you have commercials, I want to play them. If you're a candidate out there and you want to come on the show, let me know. I will get you on the show. We are scheduled to go out until right before Christmas, because a lot of folks don't realize that the campaign itself has a lot of business to tie up even after November. And
Right.
that's part of the candidate experience. So I'm just giving that a spot right there. What I need in my campaign right now, well, you saw on the one of those slides you popped up, $15,000 is all I've raised. Well, I've actually spent that. I've already spent all that. Um, I'm we're on our last $1,500 of the campaign, and the next month I have a plan to go around all of Florida on the seaboard, starting in Jacksonville, going to Pensacola, Tallahassee, Tampa, Naples, Key West, Miami, hit up the Space Coast, Daytona, and then back to Jacksonville. It's a big route. I'm only asking for gas money. I'm asking for gas money, and you know, like maybe an Airbnb, a couple nights. Trying to get into places where I can either camp or I can get an Airbnb, or if there's somebody out there that can put me up in a room, that's great. I'll take that. But that takes money. I'm on my last $1,500. Got a pool party this weekend. Hope you showing up. Hoping, yeah. So if you've got any donations, anything helps. That goes across the screen. FeenaBonoan.com. I also have another website called FeenaForUs.com. There's a campaign store there. We've got t-shirts, all kinds of stuff. I've got new door knockers out. We just purchased. So
Nice.
good stuff, right? That's really important. Now, the last message I have, and the reason why I feel like this, you got to have a message for the future. You got to have a message that could mean something to the people that you're representing. And here in Florida, we have NASA. We have NASA here, and I'm coming from a weapons background for a little background information on me. And I have a mantra, and it goes like this. Imagine if we spent or had the same enthusiasm for building rockets to go to outer space as we do for rockets with warheads to send to other countries.
Mm-hmm.
From the moment that we knew of our son's demise, we had a moral obligation to our future generations to find a way to work together to escape this peril. And it's going to take more than one person. It's going to take more than a generation. But we've got to start now.
Mm-hmm.
And if we all do what we can, when we can, together we can save the future of humanity. So a lot of folks, they want to say end all wars and all that stuff. And I get it. I want to end all wars too, but you got to give those people that are making the warheads and the rockets, they need a job too. And I got a great idea. We've got to get off this planet eventually. I know it's not in our generation. I know I'm never going to go into space, but maybe your kid, because I see what I see the next generation of the next big thing of jobs is going to be. It's going to be blue collar jobs in outer space, because there needs to be an infrastructure created up there.
Right.
The space station is old. It's going to be coming down the next couple of years. We need the next generation up there. We've got to expand. We got to keep going. Yes, we got to clean up what's here in the house. Yeah, 100%. But we've got to keep going too. We've got to. So.
All right. Well, Keith says space, yeah. I will mention this on tonight's NSS Space Chat. Not sure exactly what that is, but he's going to mention it. So there it is. All right, Feena, I'm going to put you backstage real quick, close out the show, and then I'll be right back with you in just a moment. Thank you so much for joining me this morning so early and letting us know about your campaign. Folks, make sure you go to FeenaBonoan.com, or what was that? Feena for Us? Is that what it was? FeenaForUs.com? FeenaForUs.com. Check out those sites. Make sure that you support her. All right, folks, I'm tongue-tied here. I hope you enjoyed the show and found it informative and inspiring. Be sure to catch me Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern, for an informed discussion on politics and culture. And make sure you are subscribed to my YouTube channel or my Rumble channel if you prefer. You can go to youtube.libertydad.com, or you can go to rumble.libertydad.com. Last but not least, I want you to remember, if you're a champion of liberty, your business is people and your product is liberty. want you to have a great week. Catch you next time